So you probably don't know whether or not you're actually progressing towards your desires. And I get that because I've been there too. So let me help you figure out certain things that are going to basically show you whether or not you're getting closer to your desires or not. So if this is your first time here, hello, my name is Aaliyah. I hope you guys are good. I hope you guys are well. If this is your first time here, I talk about all things manifestation, mindset, self-development, and all of that good stuff. So if that's the type of videos that you like watching, then I would love to have you here. And if you're coming back, hello, let me know you're back. So today's video is going to be about how do you know that the process that you're working through is actually helping. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I remember when I first started my journey out and how difficult it was for me to kind of figure out that this process was actually working for me. And majority of the times, you wouldn't find that the next day that you wake up, when you start affirming or visualizing or meditating or journaling or actually putting the action in, it's not like the next day you're going to wake up with the results just there, like as if like it's delivered outside of your house, right? Because always there's a process, there's something that needs to happen. And you can decide to not have a process. And in that, there's still technically a process, but you just don't focus on the process. But that's a completely different other video. We'll talk about that later. But how did I know that what I'm doing is actually working? Because once I figured this out, it made the process a lot easier. Okay. So the first thing I realized when I was manifesting and when I wanted to actually do these processes, the cause and the effect, trying to actually get my desires, I found that I became very, very isolated. And the reason being was because we live a life, we are socialized, we're programmed into thinking that everything outside of ourselves has to give us some type of validation. And when I realized, well, I don't actually need that validation outside of myself and I can give it to myself, you slowly start detaching from everything around you. That could mean your business, your friends, your parents, your family, your sisters, your brothers, your hobbies, literally everything. You become isolated. God, whatever you believe in, puts you in situations and environments where you're basically alone. And in most situations, people think that's quite unfortunate and you don't want to be isolated. But at the same time, it's such an amazing part of your journey, because at this point, when you have nothing, you have to make a choice. You are going to feel shit. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel upset because the friends that you used to go out with may not understand you. They may not resonate with you anymore. The job that you was at doesn't excite you anymore. It doesn't have the same passion for it. You find that the hobbies that you used to indulge in, you find that they were actually just a coping mechanism that you used to deal with all the other problems in life that you weren't actually dealing with. And eventually you just become this very monotone, stagnant person. And when you're at this point, I know most people are going to sit here and say like that's probably the worst of it, but in reality you're actually reaching the precipice. You're reaching the top of the roller coaster before you go down and you start screaming. Because at this point, because you've detached from everything around yourself, you find yourself in situations where you have to be the validation for yourself. You have to be your best friend. You have to dictate who you are to yourself without everyone else around you. And at this point, you start building that foundation for yourself again. And I tell everyone this also, right? When you start this journey, you find that you will lose a lot of friends. You will lose a lot of people, a lot of things around you that you were once very, very comfortable with. And the reason being is because they're not on the same level of you as anymore. Like, you're going to get annoyed by them. You're not going to understand them as much. You're not going to be putting up with their bullshit anymore. And really and truly, it's quite invigorating. In the beginning, it's quite hurtful because you're like, what is going on? But when you have this mindset shift of like, I'm actually growing and I'm evolving, and these people are just still in their own kind of journey, they're still progressing, but they're just not progressing as much as I am right now, which is okay because everyone progresses in their own time. Like, I'm able to evolve. I'm able to evolve into a completely different person. I'm able to build this foundation myself. Another important thing that I realized that was a key part of the progress was the fact that my emotions changed in regards to situations. And I feel like this relates back to the previous point. You find yourself in situations where you don't react the same. And reacting the same in the sense where situations you would find yourself in beforehand, you're not finding yourself in anymore. You might say no to things that you used to once say yes to. You might give up old habits that your friends still do. And all of these things, it's a natural part. It's almost like when you wake up, you go brush your teeth. It's not a forceful action. It's literally because you have evolved so much and you're alone so much and you become so detached that these things offer you no more value in your life. Whereas once they would have. I'm so sorry about the air freshener. It keeps on going off and it sounds like disgusting. I don't know why, but it smells nice. So that's what that matters. But these situations, these environments, you don't react the same. You become very, very aware of your energy. And because you become aware of your energy, essentially what it means is that you focus on yourself. You focus on who you are, on what makes you happy, on what benefits you, what puts value into your life, what brings you worth in your life, rather than placing that value outside of yourself. And in and of that, you start to develop your own self-concept, your personal belief, your personal disposition, who you believe you are, what you believe you do, how you maneuver yourself across the world. And all of these very, very small incremental things lead up and in a compound effect, lead you closer to your goal. These two things were so vital in me understanding that I'm actually evolving because, listen, bro, like, these two things were the main thing, okay? And the reason being is because when I was a lot younger, when I was at school, when I was at college, when I was starting uni, my entire thing was that I wanted to have the most amount of friends. I was going out, I was with my friends a lot. Like, we would go out for brunch and dinner and lunch and going to the movies and going to this event and that event. And I would love doing it. I would love exhausting myself. And eventually it got to a point where every time I was doing it, it felt as if like my energy was being drained. One, it was because of the people that I was around. Two, because of the environments they were around. And three, because they weren't the type of people I was meant to be around in the first place. And this is no disrespect to them, because I'm sure most of those people I still have a lot of respect and love for. They probably watch these videos as well. And it's nothing to do with them and who they are. It's just because at this point in my life, I was so focused on my goals that nothing else mattered. And because nothing else mattered, that meant that the value that I had in these things, the eagerness to do these things, decreased naturally. And in the beginning, it felt so bad because, like, you feel guilty, right? These are your friends, these are people that you love, that you care about. And you find yourself in situations where you don't even want to be around them anymore. And eventually they stop inviting you, and eventually you stop being around them, and eventually you find that you haven't gone out in nearly 2-3 weeks. You find that you've been in your room, you've been going to work or going to school and doing your revision and doing whatever, and you haven't actually been out with anyone recently. And at that point, you reach the third point of doing stuff for yourself, right? And this is where you kind of lean off the end. Your heart is beating, right, at that roller coaster. You're literally like perspiring, like you're sweating, you can feel your heart racing, you're about to go, and that surge of adrenaline is about to come. And you're there, right? And at that point, you start going out yourself. You find that being alone in your own room with your own people in your own environment is getting too stagnant for you. And it gets to a point where it's so stagnant for you in that place alone with no external validation, to the point where you've already validated yourself mentally, yourself, for a period of time, to the point where you start doing things for yourself. You go out and do the things that you now enjoy doing. This new version of yourself that will continue doing these things, whether it's you used to like smoking and drinking with your friends and now you would rather go to the library and read books, or you want to go learn chess, or you want to learn a new language. Different things that this new persona likes to do, different things that this persona likes to do as hobbies, or environments she likes to or he likes to be in. And I want to put this disclaimer out there for you guys. This happens a lot, okay? Like, we are human beings. I don't know why we're not called lizards, because we shed our skins like lizards or snakes or whatever you want to call it, minus the negative connotations of said animals in our day-to-day age and vocab and whatever else. But this happens a lot, right? Because think about it. You are here, person A, right, who's lived your life for 20 odd years, however long you've been living, and then you decide to make a change. You want to focus on a goal, you want to progress in life, you want to focus on something else. You start focusing on it, you do your affirmations, you do your visualization. At that point, you're like, Your brain's starting to think, well, actually, I'm a different person now. And this different person has different thoughts, ideas, also goes to different experiences, different environments, spends time with different people, doesn't chill out with the same people that she used to chill out with. So I'm going to stop doing that. And it happens naturally. So now you're alone. Now you feel like shit because you're in a conflict, you're at a crossroads, because you're like, these friends I really love, but I also want to chill with them, but I don't want to chill with them at the same time. And then you find yourself validating yourself, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, being isolated, being stagnant, sitting in the thick of it because you want to be there, you want to loathe in it. You want to loathe in it to the point where you've had enough. And at that point, you start exploring new things. You might find that the passion of painting that you had 15 years ago has now been re-embarked because you've spent that time so bored that the only thing you could bother doing is pulling out your paints and your brushes and painting a picture. And you fall in love with it again. Or you might start writing a book, or you might start learning an instrument, you might start learning a language, or you might start doing other things. You find other people that you want to go out with. You find different events. It might be networking events rather than influencer events. You might start watching different content, different type of documentaries, podcasts, etc., etc. This new persona of yours, you have now reached a different persona because you find that you're with other people, different experiences, different environments. So this is even more proof for you that whatever you're doing, the processes that you're doing, the focus that you're applying onto this goal is actually working. Because look at you 6 months ago. Look at you 3 months ago. Look at you 4 or 5 years ago. Are you the same person? You're not. You've got different friends, different experiences, different environments. You act differently. You react differently. You think differently. You have different perceptions, different beliefs, different ideas. And this clearly means you are now a new identity than you were before. And like I said, this happens consistently. It will continuously happen for the rest of your life until you no longer live on this earth anymore. And the reason being is because you don't always want to be the same identity. Right now, you're an identity of someone who doesn't enjoy chilling with those people or doing those hobbies or doing those nasty things or being a bum or XYZ. You are now the identity of someone who likes to go to the gym, who plays the piano, who does this, who does that. But then eventually you're going to become someone who is a business owner that makes X amount of money, which is then going to mean you might have less friends, or you might have a lot of friends, but you keep a distance with them. You might have to talk with them in a certain way. And these incremental shifts are leading you closer to your goal. And like I said, everything has identity. The moment you work on your identity, the moment you become that person that has that thing, you will instantaneously manifest it. So I hope this gives you some clarity in terms of where you're at in your journey. And I want you to know, I want you to let me know, whereabouts do you think you're at with your journey? Are you in the stagnant phase? Are you in the self-validating phase? Or are you in the, let me explore this new identity? Let me figure out, who am I? Who is this? What am I doing? What am I exploring? What am I actually preparing, right? Who am I going to become? What is this new identity going to look like, dress like, act like, feel like, eat like, etc., etc.? So let me know because I'm intrigued.